What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Tuesday, January 28th, 2025, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now it is 17:01 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from here in the US. So the White House press secretary Caroline Leavitt said the mystery drones flown across New Jersey in late 2024 were authorized to be flown by the FAA in the first press briefing of President Trump's second administration. She said, quote, "I do have news directly from the President of the United States that was just shared with me in the Oval Office from President Trump directly, an update on the New Jersey drones. After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones," she added. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy. Okay, so very interesting. The Trump administration stating that all these drones over New Jersey were authorized. Okay, very, very interesting. Not sure what to make of this. We also know that there were drones over Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and Camp Pendleton, and the drones that were flying over Wright-Patterson Air Force Base actually caused the security forces at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base to be deployed, and they had to temporarily shut down the airspace over Wright-Patterson because of these drones. It was too dangerous for U.S. military pilots to land or take off from Wright-Patterson. So I don't know if that was a separate incident, if those drones in New Jersey were different than what happened over Wright-Patterson. We also have a bunch of Russian Doomsday planes airborne right now. They were just scrambled from the city of Samara. In the last 30 minutes, we have half a dozen Russian Doomsday planes taking off from Samara. And I'm not sure exactly why they were just scrambled, but something's going on over there in Russia. And late last night, or early this morning at around 4:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 04:30 Eastern Time, all of Ukraine lit up with an air raid alert, which is indicative of an Oreshnik threat. And that was just for like a couple of minutes. The whole country lit up in an air raid alert, and then it was canceled. And if you remember yesterday and last night, I was showing you guys how most of Ukraine was under an air raid alert and that there was a chance of a Russian strike on Ukraine. So something is still brewing with Russia, and I do think that Russia is still going to launch another Oreshnik at Ukraine. And Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, has issued a stern warning to the U.S. and Israel, stating that any military strike against Iran's nuclear facilities would be a crazy act, leading to severe regional consequences. Araghchi emphasized the readiness for an immediate and decisive response to any such aggression during an exclusive interview with Sky News in Tehran. Wow, so the Iranian foreign minister warning the U.S. and Israel not to strike their nuclear facilities, threatening regional consequences. And right now we have another U.S. Cobra ball airborne over North Dakota. This plane is specifically designed to track missiles in the air. So I don't know if North Korea is planning to launch missiles, test missiles, or if there's some threat to the U.S., but this is the second night in a row that a Cobra ball has been sent up here to North Dakota. We also have two P-8 Poseidon sub-hunters off the coast of New Jersey and Long Island. This is actually pretty unusual to see two of them all the way out here. And last night there was one in this area as well, so something must be over here in the water for there to be two sub-hunters here today, and then one last night, potentially a Russian sub or Chinese sub. All right. And we had a high priority reconnaissance plane in South Korea. A U.S. Air Force Combat Sentinel was patrolling the border of North and South Korea. This plane can send information directly to the President and the Joint Chiefs. And we only have 2 of them in the Air Force, so if one of them is airborne somewhere, it means something is going on and the President wants to get more information about it. More Doomsday planes over Russia last night. Here you can see several Doomsday planes and VIP planes leaving Moscow, going to St. Petersburg, and leaving St. Petersburg. There was also a Russian Air Force plane that went from Belarus to Russia. And then more Doomsday planes and airborne command posts here. Okay, so a lot of VIP activity in Russia for some reason, and a lot of airborne command posts. And here we have some video footage coming out of Texas. The Texas National Guard is sending 400 more troops to the border of Mexico. This comes after some cartel members opened fire on U.S. Border Patrol at the Fronton border crossing area on the Rio Grande. So the situation at the border is very, very serious. The Trump administration said that they're going to deploy up to 10,000 troops over the next few months to the Mexican border. And now that the cartels are officially designated as foreign terror organizations, you know what that means, right? That means that now they can be targeted by U.S. military forces, okay? So that means we could actually go into Mexico to take out the cartels, and I think that's a very likely possibility, okay, in the coming months. If the situation doesn't quiet down on the border, then that's what we're going to see. And Trump officially signed an executive order yesterday, which will call for the building of a new next-generation missile defense system for the U.S. And there's a couple of interesting things here in this executive order. Specifically, it talks about space-based interceptors, okay, which is basically what Ronald Reagan wanted to do. But I'll just read to you a little bit here what is included in this missile defense shield. It says here, the architecture shall include at a minimum plans for defense of the United States against ballistic, hypersonic, advanced cruise missiles, and other next-generation aerial attacks from peer, near-peer, and rogue adversaries, acceleration of the deployment of the hypersonic and ballistic tracking space sensor layer, development and deployment of proliferated space-based interceptors capable of boost phase intercept. Okay, so interceptors that literally launch from space. They could be lasers, they could be something else. And basically when the missile is still going up towards the apogee, okay, because the way ballistic missiles work is they have an arc trajectory. So when they're still going up in that arc, going up towards the apogee, and once they get to the apogee, that's when they release the warheads, and the warheads come back down to Earth. Okay, so they want an interceptor based in space that can shoot down the missile while it's still going up towards the apogee and has not released the warheads yet, which is smart because once the warheads are released, they become a lot harder to shoot down because they usually have decoys with them. And there's multiple warheads plus multiple decoys for each warhead. So you can have, let's say, 5 warheads plus 20 decoys. Now you have 25 targets that you have to destroy because you don't know which one's a real warhead and which one's a decoy. You're not going to be able to tell the difference with a radar or thermal. Okay, so they want to kill that missile before it has a chance to release the warheads, and they want to do it from space. This is very, very interesting. Deployment of underlayer and terminal phase intercept capabilities postured to defeat a counter value attack. So I've talked about the differences between a counter value attack and a counter force attack. in my nuclear war survival videos. Check them out. I'll leave a link to my playlist in the top right corner. But a counter value attack is when they go after our cities or anything of value to us, okay? Economic hubs, whatever, okay? Anything of value, but typically it's large population centers like New York City, which is the densest populated area in the whole country, okay? 10 million people packed into just the city alone, plus another 10 million within a 20-mile radius outside of New York City. So basically a way to defeat the warheads once they're coming down. Terminal phase intercept. The terminal phase is once the warheads are already released. So they want to be able to shoot down the warheads as they're coming down towards our cities, okay? Development and deployment of a custody layer of the proliferated warfighter space architecture. Development and deployment of capabilities to defeat missile attacks prior to launch and in the boost phase. What's interesting is, if you remember, when Trump was president last time, there was one time where North Korea tried to launch a missile and it failed right on the launch pad. And then, if you remember, Trump said that they have capabilities to kill missiles right on the launch pad. Before the missile can actually launch, they can just disable it on the launch pad. I don't know how they did that, but very interesting. And development and deployment of a secure supply chain for all components with next generation security and resilience features, and deployment of non-kinetic capabilities to augment the kinetic defeat of ballistic, hypersonic, advanced cruise missiles, and other next generation aerial attacks. So right now, most of our, actually all of our interceptors are kinetic, okay, meaning that there's literally a metal object that will slam into the incoming missile, okay? So they want to develop non-kinetic capabilities, which would be more like the Russian missile defenses, where they literally have a warhead that detonates ahead of the missile and creates a blast wave and heat, and that destroys the incoming missile. So rather than using kinetic capabilities, they're going to look into traditional explosive capabilities, okay? Basically blowing up the missile rather than hitting it with something, okay? So very, very interesting. And last night we had several aerial refuelers that went from Qatar to Rota. And these aerial refuelers, I believe, were brought from the U.S. and then they went down to Qatar. And now they moved them to Rota. Now, what's interesting about Rota is that's a bomber base. Okay, that's where we keep our B-52s that are deployed to Europe and the Middle East. So looks like we're augmenting the aerial refueling force, if you want to call it that, at Rota, Spain, which is where we keep our bombers. So that probably means that the new administration is planning to use a lot of bombers in Europe and the Middle East, either for deterrence patrols or possibly strikes. Okay, strikes on Iran, strikes on the Houthis, potentially escalation with Russia. Okay, 4 aerial refuelers going to Rota, Spain. That is huge news. And U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has ordered the freezing of all U.S. Army contracts effective immediately. And the Polish government put out an update on their fortification line that they're building along their border with Belarus and Russia. Here you can see the Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, and you can see all these anti-tank obstacles in the background. So I want to just update you on some of the latest with this. They said as part of the next stages, an anti-tank ditch and a strip 100 to 200 meters wide will be built, reinforced with several lines of reinforced concrete hedgehogs, which is what you see here, supplemented with a place to lay mines in the event of a threat. The roads that traverse to the fortifications will also be expanded and secured with a palisade. The last stage are hiding places. Behind them there will be natural barriers such as swamps, marshes, and dense vegetation, Within 50 kilometers of the border, there will be deepened road ditches, electronic barrier elements, and logistical support in the form of material warehouses. So very interesting that they're going to deepen the ditches on roads within 50 kilometers of the border with Belarus and Russia. And why would they do that? Because those ditches can be used to hide troops. You can use them to put small infantry fighting vehicles into, okay, so they can be like hull down or turret down, basically protected from any kind of attack. So they can basically be used as trenches, okay, fighting trenches to protect troops and equipment. And electronic barrier elements, I'm assuming that those would be like liftable bollards or liftable barriers that they can electronically control and lift these barriers at different points of a road to slow down the advance of any invading force. And then logistical support, material warehouses, ammunition, etc., so they can replenish their tanks and infantry and whatnot. On roads and river crossings, posts made of HESCO elements will be prepared and deployed as needed. HESCO elements, they're talking about a company called HESCO that makes body armor and barricades. So they're making posts on roads and river crossings, okay? And the infrastructure itself will be prepared for barrier destruction so they can blow the bridges when the Russians are coming. The SHIELD project will also strengthen anti-surprise capabilities through the development of satellite intelligence, the construction of new camera and sensor systems, and investments in drone technologies. So here we have another picture. You can see this trench here, okay, fighting trench. And then you can see they have a spot here for this infantry fighting vehicle, and it's in a hull down position, so it's protected. So this is absolutely huge. And the second project is the Baltic Defense Line, which is being built jointly by Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. The Prime Minister added that the idea is to have a giant fortification line from Finland all the way to Poland. And Russia can continue its war for another 2 years due to its vast stockpile of Soviet-era equipment, according to Ukrainian military expert Ihor Romanenko. And according to Colonel Alexander Kindratenko, a spokesman for Ukraine's Special Operations Forces, North Korean soldiers have begun to withdraw from several defensive positions along the front line in the Kursk region of western Russia after taking significant losses during recent combat operations. And we had massive reconnaissance again last night in the Baltic region. Here you can see a British sub-hunter patrolling the Baltic Sea, and also a German sub-hunter flying really low near Kaliningrad. There was also a Latvian drone and a U.S. Army Black Hawk in Latvia as well. And then we also had this Italian Air Force recon plane in Latvia and a Swedish recon plane patrolling the border of the Baltics and Russia and Belarus. So something's definitely brewing over here. And then we also had a U.S. Navy recon drone patrolling the coast of Libya. Very interesting. And then we had a Russian Cobra Ball leave the Central African Republic. Very unusual. And there is a war about to break out between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. So I'm going to be monitoring that area for you guys. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I might be back later on tonight with more breaking news, and I might be in the 24/7 live stream later as well. Look at these Doomsday planes in Russia. Very interesting. They're not heading towards Moscow, so very, very concerning. Potentially another Oreshnik strike is imminent, but I'll keep you guys updated, and my app will be released hopefully later this week for Android, and then the Apple version will be released in a couple of weeks. And this app is totally free, and what it'll allow me to do is push updates out to you guys through the app, so you're not reliant on YouTube for notifications. I can also send you guys messages like, an update message, so I don't have to necessarily put out a video. I can just say Russian Doomsday planes airborne, and then I can push that out, and you'll get it on your app, okay, to keep you guys updated. But that's it for now. Maybe I'll see you later. Check out my live stream, and until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere. And this update was sponsored by NYPrepper Supply. Guys, NYPrepper Supply is doing a massive sale on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewithnyprepper.com, and the link is in the description below this video. They're selling their 3-month emergency food supply for just $600, so that's $100 off the normal price. And this is 3 months of food at 2,000 calories per day, has a shelf life of up to 25 years, and all of this is packed into 6 rugged water-resistant buckets, and free shipping is included. And they're also offering a disaster replacement warranty, so if your food supply gets destroyed by a natural disaster, they'll replace it for you with no charge. And they also will provide you with free survival books and information, including a natural disaster field guide, a survival Bible digital copy. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get $100 off the NYPrepper Supply 3-month emergency food supply, and the link is in the description below this video.